Good morning, everyone. Stefan here, your digital commando, and welcome to another episode of the Digital Commando Show. It is Motivational Monday, so we've got a fantastic guest for you. And for those that haven't tuned into a Motivational Monday before, what are we going to be talking about? Firstly, we're going to talk about your morning routine and how to get your head in the game and get yourself motivated for the day ahead. Then we'll talk about how to maintain that motivation moving forward, keep inspired, and achieve your short, medium, and long-term goals. And then finally, we'll talk about some top tips for productivity. If you're getting stuck with procrastination or anything like that, then we're going to give you some tips how to get out of that. So I've got an expert once again here with me today, so I'm going to bring her in. How you doing, Jo? You okay?
I'm good. How are you?
I am good. Thank you very much for joining me. Guys, we have Jo here from the Happiness Club. In just a second, I'll get her to introduce herself. But as always, we want to remind you that we do this show for free and we get fantastic experts in to come and talk to you and pass on their knowledge and their expertise. And all we ask is you to pay it forward. So if you know anybody that can benefit from anything we talk about today, then please do tag them in the comments or share the whole video with them so that they can watch it on the replay. So we ask, you do that, we'll carry on doing the show, and that's it. So, Jo, for those that may not know who you are, could you please do like a quick intro as to who you are and what your business does?
I can indeed. I'm Jo Howarth. I run a company called the Happiness Club, and I teach people how to be happy. And I don't mean, when I say that, I don't mean walking around with a silly grin on your face and ignoring all the rubbish stuff that happens. I mean truly content, happy, in your own life, comfortable in your own skin, with a decent sense of self-worth and self-love, so that you can live a life that you want to live, not just plod through life on autopilot. That's what I do.
Oh, fantastic. Well, we're looking forward to your insights today. I'm just going to click this button in the corner before it restarts my computer in 60 seconds. This stuff always happens on this show because it is live. Try again tonight. Thank you. Right. So the first thing we're going to talk about today is that morning motivation. Now, I love talking about morning motivation. I've got a hardcore morning routine that lasts a really long time. But it means that when I'm ready to start the day, I am completely full of energy by this point. My brain's all switched on and I'm good to go. Jo, what advice have you got for anybody that's looking to get into a morning routine? Or have you got a morning routine that you do that you would like to share with everyone?
I do, yeah. I have a morning routine that I do most mornings. If I wake up and I don't feel like doing it, I don't force myself to do it. I'm a big believer in taking the pressure off instead of putting pressure on. So if I wake up and it's not happening, then I go back to sleep. But more times than not, I will do my morning routine. And my routine consists of meditation. That's the first thing I do as soon as I open my eyes, which is almost a bit like going back to sleep just after you've woken up, but not quite the same. But for me, it works best if I do it immediately before I open my phone and look at whatever rubbish social media has for me that day. I go straight into meditation. And I don't overdo the meditation either. I'm not a Buddhist monk and I don't need to do it for 3 hours. I do 20 minutes. That's it. And then I do a set of mindset exercises. So for me, obviously, a lot of what I do is about positive mindset. And so I have a series of positive mindset exercises that I do as soon as I can after that meditation. Because for me, motivation, if that's what we're talking about, is all about intention. And you can set an intention. This is what I mean about not walking through your life on autopilot. You have the power and the ability to set an intention for how your day is going to go, for how you're going to feel during that day, for how your week is going to go, for how your month is going to go, for how your life is going to go. You have the ability to set the intention for all of that. And for me, that starts first thing in the morning. So I set an intention of how I want to think, what I want to think about myself. One of the techniques that I do every day without fail, and as early in the morning as I can, is I have a list on my phone, this amazing piece of technology. In the Notes app, I have a list of all the things I've achieved, all the things I'm proud of, all the things I like about myself, all the things that make me who I am, that I'm pleased that I can do. From things like, I love that I'm good at hugging, because for me, hugging is a life skill, to I'm glad that I'm qualified in all the stuff that I teach and that I have that knowledge and that learning behind me and that I'm continuously learning. So I remind myself every single morning of everything that I like about me and that motivates me to get going with my day. So yeah, for me, a morning routine is massively beneficial. But as I say, if I wake up one morning and actually my head is going, I don't want to meditate, I want to go back to sleep, then I go back to sleep. I will try and build it in during my day at some other point. But it makes a massive difference for me having that morning routine. To wake up, I spend about an hour on my morning routine every day. And I can feel the difference. I feel raring to go. I messaged someone this morning, so right, I'm raring to go now. I'm good. Let's get on with the day, because it puts you in the right mindset, and you have the ability to do that for yourself. You don't have to wait for something good to happen to pump you up, to get you to do something. You can create all of those emotions inside yourself intentionally anytime you like.
Absolutely. I think you've covered some really good points, and I think there's some kind of misconceptions. We talked about meditation there, and I think there's a misconception that, like you just said about the Buddhist monks, it doesn't have to take a really, really long time. And I think I do it every morning, but for about, and I've got a set thing that I listen to while I do it. So I think I do like 12 minutes or something, which makes a difference, but it's 12 minutes more than I used to do. So it's still something. So yeah, it doesn't have to last for hours. It's not one of those things that you don't have to do the stereotype. You just do what works for you. And I think it's good you said there about you kind of listening to your body. If your body really doesn't want to do it in the morning, there's nothing wrong with not doing it that morning. We do talk about routine and habits as well. Now, if it's something you're just starting to get into, then I would recommend probably pushing through to try and make it into a habit. But then once you're kind of through that, there's nothing wrong with having the odd day off, a cheat day of sorts. So yeah, totally agree. I think this is something we've heard from lots of people. Do not get up and jump straight onto social media or straight onto the news, because we want to get happy. We want to be in a good mood when we wake up. We want to kind of get that. It's very difficult to get motivated when all you're seeing is kind of really negative stuff. So yeah, 100% stay away from social media, stay away from the news. We hate the news at the minute. I love the affirmations that you said that you do, where you're talking about the things that in the morning that you're either grateful for, or you're happy for, or that you're happy the kind of person you are and the reasons why. I think this is really important for people to practice. And for some people, it can be very strange. Now, there's different ways of doing this. Now, I say it out loud when I'm looking in the mirror. Now, for some people, they'll find that really, really weird, especially if you live with people, or if you're in a shared house or something and you start going, I am amazing. In the morning, people might go, he's a bit weird, but sod him. Doesn't matter. It's all about you. But you don't have to do it out loud. Some people write them down. Some people write them down with their left hand, because it plays on something as well. I think that's in another episode. So yeah, really, really big. We love that. And we love gratitude. We talk about that every Thursday. And the hugging. So many people are missing hugs at the minute. This is so fun. And hugging is an art. You're absolutely right. I've got a friend, Sarah, who is an absolutely fantastic hugger. We used to do lots of networking events. It's one of the biggest things I miss about our kind of weekly networking event is little Sarah's hugs. She's a brilliant hugger. So yeah, it is definitely an art form. Okay, so so that's kind of our morning routine. We've kind of got into the day. Now, one of the things that people struggle with quite a lot is once they can get up, they can get motivated for the day, but then maintaining that motivation and that drive throughout maybe the week or the month or the 6 months to try and achieve their goals can be quite a struggle. What advice have you got for people that are kind of struggling to maintain longer term motivation?
Okay, so personally for me, it's about ensuring that those goals absolutely match your values. Because if they don't fit with who you are as a person, if you've just felt under pressure from your business coach or from whoever to make some goals, right, I'm going to earn this much money by this time. If that's not in line with who you are as a person and how you want to live your life, you will absolutely find yourself losing motivation much, much easier, because you don't have that. We're emotional beings. And if you don't have that emotional connection to what you're trying to create, then it stands to reason, really, that you're going to lose the drive to get there. And I think that's one of the hardest. And I think a lot of people as well, when they come up against a hurdle, they allow it to knock them, and you are allowing it to knock you. That is a fact. They allow it to knock them, and they allow it to knock them back, and they allow it to let them lose momentum and motivation. So I think that's one of the hardest things, is keeping the goal there all the time in front of you, like that carrot on the stick, that no matter what hurdle you face, you get back up and you jump over it, and you get back up and you jump over it, because that goal means so much to you, because you've got an emotional connection to it. That's the difference. I think a lot of people just set goals for the sake of setting goals, rather than, and again, it's about doing it in a way that works for you. So for me personally, if I set a financial goal or a business goal, and I put a deadline on it, so lots of people say be really specific and put a date on it. So by the 15th of July, I will have earned this much money, right? That kind of goal actually doesn't work at all for me. I can't do it, because for me, what that does is put too much pressure on. I start off all raring to go, and yeah, let's do this. Hooray, I'm going to earn this much money by this date. Woohoo. And then the closer it gets to the date, the more I start going, oh God, no, I have to earn this much money by this date. And it scares me. And actually what that does is make me start to procrastinate, and I fold, if you like. So that kind of goal doesn't work for me. So actually I find what works for me is to be more general. So I have a general goal of what I want to earn in a year, how many members of my happiness club I want to recruit in a certain, in 6 months, and I make it more general, because for me, that actually motivates me more. That sounds so backwards, but so again, I think it's about knowing yourself and knowing what works for you. Just because the top business coach says this is the way you must do it doesn't mean it's the way you must do it. You have to do it in a way that works for you, not for anyone else. And I think that's what's wrong with some of these, programs that people buy into. Follow my 7 steps to this and you'll be this. No, those 7 steps worked for that person, not necessarily for you, because you're a different being. You're a unique being. So again, for me, it all starts with getting to know yourself and getting to know what makes you tick and what your values are. So that you can set goals that speak to you, that make your heart sing, because then there is no problem with motivation, because you want to do it. It moves you, it drives you, it connects with you. And one thing that helps quite a lot that I use myself to, again, just keep myself up there, is to build in along the process a set of rewards. Who doesn't like a prize? And why shouldn't you give yourself a prize? It's every time you hit a milestone, work out a set of rewards for, when I hit this milestone, I'm going to give myself this. When I hit this milestone, I'm going to give myself that. And sometimes my rewards are as simple as a cup of tea and a bar of chocolate, because I like chocolate. And sometimes it's, in the world before the pandemic, it was a visit to a spa, or dinner out with my husband, or a treat, and, buy myself that thing that I wanted, or whatever. But that's a really basic but beautiful way of rewarding yourself. We acknowledge and reward other people before we acknowledge and reward ourselves. So it's about doing it for yourself as well.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I really like that. I think it's one of the things. I had this conversation with someone the other day. I won't mention them, but we were talking about kind of goals, and this was one of the things that a lot of people do initially put on a financial goal. Now, I've done this. It doesn't work for me anymore necessarily, but it's one of those things that originally when I speak to people, they go, so what do you want to achieve? What's your goal? Oh, I want to make this much a month. Okay. What's your goal after that? Well, then I want to make this much a month. Okay. Then what? Well, then I want to make this much a month. Okay, cool. Let's play an exercise. If I gave you like £2 million, like you've hit all your targets, whatever, or you won the lottery, you've got £150 million. You've got all the money in the world. What would you've bought all the stuff that you want. You bought a yacht, a house, all the rest of it, or you've given money to your family. Everything's done. What would you then want to do? Like, what are you passionate about? And this takes some people a bit of time to think about. But when they really drill down to it, some people are like, you know what, I would spend my time coaching other people and trying to help them. I would spend it caring for a particular children's charity that I like, or supporting hospitals, or whatever. But it kind of drills down, and it's kind of like, well, do you know what? What's stopping you from doing that now? Why don't you go and go for that? And I think this is I think it's a really good exercise to kind of play. And I've done it myself, where I've kind of gone, right, okay, well, if I managed to hit all the goals that I wanted and I got to the kind of end goal, then what would I want to do? And again, it just plays a completely different thought on your mind. A lot of people will come back to helping people, which is really nice, actually, which has kind of been a trend that I've seen, which is really, really cool. But I think attach these kind of goals to your morning routines. So if that is that's the bit that's attached to you emotionally, because money is not necessarily attached to you emotionally. So I would reaffirm those things every morning, and I do that quite a lot, where I'll talk about the ultimate goal, which I have shared on here before. I'm not going to share today, but it's, I want to do this. I'm looking forward to doing this. And although admittedly for me, that goal is probably about 10 years in the future, it's still something that drives me every day now, because there's an emotional connection to it. So I totally agree with that. And it needs to be for you. You can't set goals for other people or by other people. I think this is part of the bit that I agree with some coaches, but not all coaches, that will kind of go, yeah, here's a goal for the sake of having a goal. Whereas the really good coaches that I know will attach it to an emotional side, which is good. But yeah, I totally agree. Tie it into your values as well. And incentives. We all have an incentive. This is the reason why, if you're employed, or it's slightly different to when you're a business owner. You don't get a promotion at the end of the year. We're already all the CEOs of our own companies in that sense. So yeah, put in incentives, put in your own rewards. When I do this, I'm going to give myself this. But it doesn't necessarily need to be your goal. It's just a nice to have kind of thing. And yeah, by doing that, it gives you positive reinforcement, and you would want to do it again. So yeah, totally agree. Love an incentive. Everybody loves an incentive. So yeah, we're going to talk about productivity, and we've got a cool question here. Let's do that first, actually. So we've got a question on front of the screen here from Sarah Gibson. Top tips for a to-do list, please. I feel like I either put too much on or not enough. It's an interesting one. Jo, how do you feel about to-do lists?
Okay, so I swear by to-do lists. Absolutely one of the first things I teach if I'm running a workshop. So I run workshops on resilience and that kind of thing. And if I'm running a workshop, I will include a time management section. And one of the things I teach is to get the stuff out of there and onto paper. 100% first step, because otherwise we walk around with it flying around our heads, all the stuff we've got to do, and it uses our energy and our headspace, and it knackers us out. So out of there onto a to-do list. I think obviously then sometimes you end up with the world's longest to-do list, which scares the pants off you every morning when you look at it. So for me, it is about chunking it down then. So I will do, for instance, I do a to-do list I do this on a monthly basis. I sit at the end of the month and I make a massive list of everything I know I've got to do over the next month. But I don't leave it there, because like I say, it would scare the pants off me. So I then put that into 3 different sections: urgent, important, and can wait. Once I've put that enormous list into those 3 different sections, when I've got my can wait list, I get rid of it. I just ditch it completely, put it in the bin, shred it, whatever, just get rid of it. Research shows we put about a third of the things that we put on our lists never get done and don't need to be done. And yet we carry them around with us, bless us. So get rid of that. And then you're left with your urgent and your important list. And I then chunk it down further to a daily list, so that actually all I have to do every morning is look at the list of things I have to do that day, all of which I know are going to move me a step closer to my goal because I've done the enormous list first. But I only have to look at those 7 or 8 things that I have to do that day, because I don't need to worry about what I have to do tomorrow or next week. I need to know what I need to do today. That's the only time we have, is right now. So when you're making that list, that daily list, then it is about being realistic. Don't put 3 billion things on your list for today, because that is what's going to lead you to procrastination, to a lack of motivation, because it's going to scare the bejesus out of you every time you look at it. So you make it manageable. And if you know, like I say, I probably have 7 or 8 things on my list every day. When I've done them, that's when I finish work. So if I finish work at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, hurrah. And it doesn't need to worry me, because I know that all the other jobs are taken care of because I've put them in against all the other days that I've got to work in. So for me, it's not like Sarah says, I feel like I either put too much or not enough. I don't think there is such a thing as not enough. If you've put all the jobs that you've got to do across your week or your fortnight or your month, then you just need to do what you've said you're going to do for Monday. And then you can stop working and go and do something else that fills you with joy, or, you know, hug your children if you have them, or whatever. Something else that fills you as a person, knowing that you've done all the things you needed to do that day to move you closer to your goal, and that all the other things are planned in and ready to do as you go across your week, your fortnight, your month. And then you can't do not enough. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one, to-do lists. Now, I'm not a huge fan of to-do lists. I think for me, it's more about, we've talked about achievement lists, which are similar. It's kind of but yeah, it's kind of like, it is all about doing it correctly. A general to-do list, if that's kind of where you're going with it, Sarah, is like Jo just said, like the list of everything, which 90% of it doesn't actually need to be done. I think chunking is awesome. If anybody's not familiar with chunking, there's loads of videos that Tony Robbins has done on it from years ago, which are fantastic. That's kind of where I learned to do it from. And then, yeah, just cut the fat out of the list. There's so much rubbish on our lists. Now, if you're thinking there's a difference between a to-do list and an ideas list. If you've got ideas, there's nothing wrong with having ideas that you don't need to action initially straight away. You can, if you've got a board where you can put stuff on, then take some post-it notes, whack them all up on the board, put some time in the diary to review them, maybe the same later that day, and then in a week, and then in a month. If you haven't actioned them by the end of the month, bin them off completely. They're not going to get done. Whereas if you feel that they're important, you will actually plan some time in to get them done. So I think that's a kind of key way to do it. And so I'm going to touch on the kind of productivity side as well, I guess, now. But if you've got things on your list that, number one, you don't like doing, or you're not very good at, don't do it. Get someone else to do it. I think this is the key for me in a business. And I learned this when I first started the company. I was very lucky to have a chat with somebody who's a big competitor of mine, but also a very good friend. He'd been running an agency for 5 years longer than me. I was just getting started at the time. And he sat down with me and said, oh, right, okay, well, my top tips when I started an agency was to outsource the things that as agency owners, we're not normally very good at, because we're creatives and we like shiny things. We're not normally good at bookkeeping, accounting, normally not very good at sales, although sales was kind of one of the areas that I actually quite liked. But generally, if there was areas that he didn't like, he would outsource them. So the first thing he did was, right, I'm going to get a bookkeeper, accountant, and a salesperson. And that left him time to just focus on doing the job. So there is things within that, like, that you don't like to do. Like, I hate doing bookkeeping. So this is why somebody else does it. Sometimes appointment settings, area of the sales, anything that you can outsource comfortably, I would say to do it 100%. Because for 2 reasons, I guess. One is, if you're trying to do something that you're not comfortable or not happy with, it's very, very draining, emotionally and mentally, or emotionally and physically, actually, because you do feel physically tired after. So try and get rid of those things. And if it's something you enjoy, then you're waking up every day just to do stuff that you enjoy. Can't complain about that, can we? So that would be my kind of tip on a to-do list. Don't do the stuff on a to-do list that you don't want to do, unless you absolutely have to do it. And if you do absolutely have to do it, where's my book? It's around here somewhere. Eat the frog and do the worst thing on the list first, and energize yourself for that for the rest of the day. That would be my tips on a to-do list.
Yourself after you've done it. If you have to do that thing that you don't want to do, then give yourself a reward as well for doing it afterwards. Celebrate the fact that you did it.
Yeah. And that's the perfect one, especially in lockdown. We talk about small incentives. Doesn't need to be anything huge. It can just be a cup of tea and a biscuit. Happy days. And then you go. And you're back to work. Jo, we're going to go to our final point of the day. We've got a little bit of time left, which is when we talk about top tips for productivity. Now, a lot of us are working from home. Maybe some people aren't very used to working from home. And they get distracted quite a lot. We procrastinate a lot. We've now got a television in our office, a lot of people. For some people, there's a bed in the office. There's lots of, everyone's got very different scenarios. Routines have kind of, generally speaking, gone completely out the window. You can't go for lunch with your friends at lunchtime. You might have kids running around as well. So what are your kind of tips for people that are struggling with productivity while they're at home and working?
Okay, so speaking from personal experience, I think where we've come from is we were given our working hours, even when we work for ourselves. So I have 2 children who normally are at school between the hours of 9 and 3 or 4, because one's at high school, one's at primary school. So they were my working hours. And I would finish work when my children came home and try to spend some time with them. They're not as bothered about spending time with me anymore. But no, we'll gloss over that one. But my working hours were kind of set for me, even though I worked for myself. And I think one of the things I've found very much is that I've found a completely different rhythm in this situation that we're in now. And I'm having lazier mornings, and I'm working in the afternoons more than I am in the morning. I've just found a different flow. So if you can at all, and I know that's not possible for everyone because some people still are employed and still have to work the set hours. But if you can, I think it's to allow yourself to go with that flow, to find your natural rhythm, to allow yourself the space to find that natural rhythm, to work out when you work best and allow yourself to work at that time as much as you can. Procrastination is a doozy, obviously, because like you say, we're now, I mean, I work from home anyway, but we are now tempted with, you know, watching a film with my daughter rather than doing a couple of hours work or whatever. And I think for me, it's about making sure that, again, I get a balance of those things. So if I fancy watching a film with my daughter, I will do that. And actually what that does is make me more productive afterwards, because I've allowed myself that time to do something for me. And as I said earlier, for me, it's about taking the pressure off. It's not about putting pressure on. It's about, if you don't feel it, if you're not feeling it, if so many things are distracting you, then go away, walk away from your desk, even if it's just for 10 minutes, walk away from your desk and go outside and breathe in the fresh air and stand in the sun if it's sunny. It's raining where I am today, but never mind. Go and, you know, have a cup of tea and chat to your children or your partner or whoever else is in the house with you, or have a Zoom call with a friend or whatever the thing is, but take yourself away from it. Just sit quietly by yourself. Do something for you rather than trying to. I'm not a fan at all of powering through. I think it goes against your natural flow as a human being. It goes against your natural rhythm, like I say. So allow yourself, because you are in charge of you. So allow yourself to find your flow and don't put the pressure on. If you're feeling meh, if you're not feeling it, don't force yourself to feel it. Go do something else until you do feel it. and then you'll be more productive. You will get more done.
I really like that. I think flexibility is so key now, but we've also got the luxury of, for many people, actually having the ability to be flexible now. Now, this is something we tried. It was something that we've coached a lot of businesses on now because we did it so long ago. I say so long ago, 2.5 years ago. So we were so set up for this, and it was completely out of convenience. It was not something we ever planned as a business. We did the thing that everybody does. We started a business. We bought an office. Everybody moved into the office. They worked 9 to 5. Now, then we had one of the individuals in the team wanted to go traveling and said, can I work for you while I travel? I'd love to do both at the same time. Well, that sounds ideal. But you know what? We're a cool agency. We're going to let you do it. So she went off and traveled for a year, and we paid her while she traveled. And it was just a case of, as long as the work is done, it's fine. We don't care when you work. It's not 9 to 5 because obviously you're in different countries. It's just make sure the work is done on time. And it was very, very well done. Now, then the rest of the team are like, oh, well, if they're doing that, then can we have a bit more flexibility as well? I was like, okay, then, well, we'll do flexi time initially. So you can come into the office whenever you want, but you don't have to come in during the day, anytime you like. So that's what they did. And then we went kind of really down to it, which was, well, we don't want people in the office at midnight on their own. So if you don't want to come into the office, feel free not to come into the office. Now, funny thing is, when you offer a load of staff that they don't have to come into the office, guess what they do? They don't come to the office. So we're paying a fortune for this big office that was really, really cool, swanky kit, but no one was there. It was me, and up from like 9 till 9 pretty much every day. And I was like, I'm the only one here. So as a joke, I actually closed our office and didn't even tell the team. It took them about 3 months to notice that the office was actually closed. Because that was my sense of humor. I thought it'd just be really funny not to tell them. And then they panic, and I was like, no, it's fine. We're a remote company now. And that was kind of it. So we were very much set up for remote working, flexible working hours, just because we've got a very good CRM system that tracked everything. So I think this is something that can be done now. So now some people, I know developers particularly, our web developers love to work in the night. They're a bit like vampires. They just work it in the evening and then sleep all day. Which is fine because it works for them. So that's absolutely fine as long as the projects are done on time. So I would say to lots of companies, then use that flexibility, because some people are more productive in the evening, and you'll get more out of them if you let them do that. And yeah, I totally agree with what you said there about, if you're not feeling it, then escape and get away from that kind of situation. We've spoke about on the show before about when you're having a bad day, and we don't necessarily believe with bad days, we believe in bad moments. And if you're having that bad moment where you just kind of, do you know what, I'm just not feeling it, well, you can get past that moment and get yourself back into it. You don't have to write the entire day off. And that can be something as small, like we said earlier on, as going and having a cup of tea, going for a walk, calling a friend. Now don't call a friend for like 2 hours. Just use it as a little break, but just call a friend that's going to pick you up. Don't call a friend who's not having a good day. But yeah, call somebody who's going to pick you up, get you in the mood, make you laugh, and then get back into it, I would say. But there's loads of different things. I normally go like snowboarding. Can't do that at the minute. I take it to like the extreme, but that's me, innit? That's what everybody knows. So yeah, just get yourself out of that particular situation. Get yourself out of that feeling. Just change the feeling inside, and then you'll come back happy, motivated, and ready to go. So I really like that one, Jen. That's a really good one for people. We are out of time for today, but thank you so much for joining me. There's some fantastic knowledge that you've shared there and experience that people can implement straight away. So guys, like I said earlier on, if you've benefited from the show and you've learned something, which I'm sure everybody has, then please do tag somebody in the comments that you feel could benefit from it as well, or share the whole show with them so they can watch it on the replay. And if you do watch it on the replay, please put replay in the comments. That'd be really, really cool for us. That is it. Jo, for anybody that missed the start of the show and they're tuning in late, can you please give them a reminder of who you are, what you do, and most importantly, how they can get in touch with you in the future?
Absolutely. I'm Jo Howarth. I run the Happiness Club, and I teach people how to be happy, not the silly grin on your face, but really, truly content, happy, and comfortable in your own skin. I teach people a wide range of ways to find that for themselves, and that's the key, for themselves. And you can find me on our website, thehappinessclub.co.uk.
Fantastic. Once again, Jo, thank you very much for joining me. Guys, it's Motivational Monday, but tomorrow we'll be back for Tuesday Trends, talking about marketing and some bits and bobs around marketing. So if you want to know more about how to make your business excel online, then join us tomorrow. We'll have another guest and some fantastic opportunity to ask some questions. So for everybody who's commented, everyone who's watched, thank you very much. We're nearly at 500,000 views. This is crazy. So we're loving it, absolutely loving it. And we're going to continue to do it as long as you keep feeding my ego and sending me nice comments. So that is it. Jo, thank you for joining me. For everybody who's watched, thank you very much. And we'll see you tomorrow at 11 a.m. Have a fantastic week and the rest of the day. See you later. Peace out.